So I'm gonna start in the truck for you. My truck is completely torn apart right now. There's absolutely nothing, even the headliners out of it, because I'm doing carpet and stuff as well, and some dynamatting. So your fuse box up here, right? This little door comes off your fuse box up here. And you can see there is an ACC fuse, but there's also the whole left panel, this whole left strip right here. There's your 3 strips. This entire strip is all ACC based. And so to show you that, what I'm going to do is I've got a test light here, and sorry, I'm filming alone, so that was a lot of fun. I'm just going to find a good chassis ground, and that'll be good enough just for the testing part. And the way these fuses work is the right hand side of the fuse, back up a little bit, is the part that's going to be contact, and this is going to be the load. So I don't know if I can get one. Yeah, so you can see this bank is on, the center bank is on all the time. And so if you go, the right hand side has power, the left hand side does not. So when you put a fuse in there, then you're going to make that contact between those. That's what the fuse is all about. So this guy is currently out. So let me find the keys. I just stuck the key in, so just to make sure, it should be still off. Still off. And then when I put the key into the Alright. Of course, now I'm locked up. Darn it. Alright, there we go. Sorry, I'll have to splice those 2 videos together. So, I got the key and I'm going to put it in. And I'm going to put it in the ACC position. And then you're going to be able to see that this guy who was previously off. So this is an ACC fuse. So what I'm going to do, basically, if you've never seen these tap fuses, this guy is going to go into the fuse location, and then there's 2 slots on the back. One is for the existing fuse that was there to replace it, and this is for a new circuit up on top, which is then fed off of the wire that's connected to that one. And because I need 2 10 amp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect wire tester. I'm going to connect 2 fuses, so we're going to fill this new that fuse location with 2 loads off of it. Both are 10 amps, and I wouldn't go more than 20 amps on these fuses. So this is going to be this could be a potential 20 amp load. I did put an amp meter on the seat heaters that I have, and they pull about 7 amps, so we're well within spec. So that's where we're going to start, and I'm going to make the wiring harness, and then I'll route it to, let me move the light for you. So coming down the line, this is where that driver's seat plugs in. So I'm just going to run that same wire with ground up underneath the driver's seat to the same location, and then that's where we're going to hook up. So really the wiring harness is 2 wires, right, a hot and a ground. You could even do a chassis ground in here, but I'm going to run it all the way back up on under. Maybe at some point I'll do a fancy ground, but chassis ground is perfectly fine. Just right back up here into our, and we'll just have to route the wire up underneath to our tap-a fuse location up underneath here, and that's really all it's going to be. The passenger one will be a little more of a pain because I'll have to route it across and down along the passenger door, and then up to the same exact location. There's a connection right there. You can see it. It's really low light in here. Right here. So that's all we got to do for that. Oop. So I'll go down and do the wiring harnesses and we'll bring them back up and we'll install them. Then you'll have an idea how that's done. So before I got too much further, I wanted to show you, I just worked up a wiring harness. So this is just a connector, and this is the other end of the connector, the full connector. It's actually a watertight connector. I had some left over from doing some exterior lighting, but they're kind of nice because they have a nice little clip that holds them together, and they're nice and secure, and it's decent quality. They're like $1 a piece or some. You could totally use Molex for this or something, or even spade connectors, but you know, if you're going to do it, might as well do a good job. So this guy is going to go onto the bottom of the seat, right? So this is coming from the fuse box, and this is just 2 wires, right? And this is our fuse tap we talked about. So eventually, so this is the exposed portion, which has this plastic conduit, and I actually salvaged it from an old seat from the junkyard, and then just shrink wrapped it. So there's just 2 wires in here, right, black and white. And I just put like 1/4 inch. I just cut some little nibs off, like 1/4 inch shrink tubing, and then just kind of put them every once in a while. I don't know how long this is going to be yet because I got to take it out to the truck. So then eventually the red wire is going to meet up with this, and we'll put I think I got some round type connectors or whatever these are called to then do a chassis ground someplace. So that's the entire extent, really, of the wiring harness. I'll go out, figure out a total length, cut it, slice it together, and I just use these little. I like these little wire scrunchies. I don't know, they're just for 16 gauge wire. I always upsize. Really, you could do this with 18 gauge wire, but I upsized to 16, just in case. And I had it on hand, but you totally could get away with 18 if you wanted to. And then just put a little piece of like, I'm thinking 3/16 or probably 3/16 around each of those, just to make sure. I know that they come like, you can get them like this, but I dislike these because when you scrunch stuff, there'll be a seam on one side, right there. And when you dimple it with your scrunchy tool, you definitely, right, when you have the scrunchy tool, you're going to dimple it with that little tooth end. You want the end. There's a million videos on this kind of stuff on the internet. I don't know why I'm saying it. But basically you want that, the roll end where it meets up, you want that up into where you're not gonna, where your tooth isn't gonna do it, otherwise it will rip it apart. You get really nice scrunchies. They work just as good. I used to solder everything, but these wire scrunchies work great. So, all right, let's go out to the truck and we'll do a final measurement. I'll come back and splice it in, then we'll hook her up. So we're all set. Tapped off the ACC, that spare that was in there, so got 2 taps running off that same one. Like I said, I think it should be fine. There's a chassis ground right here, so that's where the ground wire goes. You can see both of the red and black combinations right through here. Come down beside the seat. They're just tucked in with the other wires. And then one of them right here, this one goes up to the driver's seat. It's the same length, it's the driver's seat. So there's the 2 plugs for the driver's seat, the stock one right here, and then the one for the heater. I did decide to route, I just hate routing stuff up underneath the dash, so the tape, underneath the tape, you can see it runs all the way over, right in front of the seats, and then over to the same kind of stock location. Actually, there's the other one right there where the other stock seat is by the rear heater deal. It should be fine. It's not a lot of wear across this section. There's no critical like clearance issues or something. So I just used some aluminum tape. It's nice and sticky. It'll hold it down and won't vibrate and everything. So that's that, and all's left is put the seats in and test them. So the truck is running. It's kind of might be a little bit noisy. It was either listen to the ding, ding, ding or start the truck. You can see it's all wired up. So that's on low. It's on high. I just been letting it run and sitting on high. They're getting nice and warm. New leather, pretty comfortable. Seems to work pretty good. I mean, even though you can't see the button when you're sitting in it, you can reach right down and get to it. It's not a really big deal. Maybe if you have huge hands or something, it might be a problem, but the weird tap a fuse thing is working just fine. Nothing's on fire or melting. And I'll get around to doing the passenger seat as well. I think that completes this project. Now I need to get to the carpet and the dynamating. That's going to be